They said my passion made me unstable, that empathy was a weakness, that I'd never make it past middle management. Today, I'm calmly watching the same board that dismissed me burst into chaos, as their billion-dollar dream implodes on stage without me to save it. My name is Erin Blake. I'm 36 years old. And until 6 months ago, I was the chief systems architect for AI operations at Nexer Systems, one of the leading companies in biological manufacturing automation. If you've taken any bioengineered medication in the last 5 years, chances are our systems helped produce it. I say "our" out of habit, though I suppose I should stop doing that. Right now, I'm sitting in the back row of Nexora's main presentation hall, watching Lana Prescott, my former supervisor, deliver what should be a triumphant demonstration of Synthecore, the AI system I built from the ground up. My name appears nowhere in the glossy program booklets they've distributed. My face isn't on any of the promo materials. The system they're showcasing bears my fingerprints in every line of code. But according to all official documentation, I was merely part of the technical support team. Lana is wearing a tailored navy suit that probably cost more than my monthly rent. Her sleek, blonde hair is pulled back in a perfect chignon, and her voice carries confidently through the auditorium as she explains how Synthecore will revolutionize biopharmaceutical production and usher in a new era of AI-driven medicine. The shareholders and press in attendance nod appreciatively. A few are furiously taking notes. What none of them know is that in approximately 17 minutes, everything is going to fall apart. I should feel vindicated, maybe even gleeful. But mostly, I just feel tired. Tired and oddly detached. Like I'm watching a movie I've already seen before. It wasn't always like this. 18 months ago, I was leading the Synthecore project with the kind of enthusiasm that made people either love working with me or find me exhausting. I'd been recruited to Nexora specifically to develop an AI system that could self-optimize biological manufacturing processes. The concept was ambitious: create an artificial intelligence capable of monitoring, analyzing, and adjusting bioreactor conditions in real time to maximize yield and purity while minimizing resources. Unlike conventional manufacturing AI, Synthecore would need to understand the complex interplay of living systems, bacteria, yeast, and mammalian cell cultures that produce therapeutic proteins. It would have to recognize patterns across hundreds of variables that even experienced scientists sometimes missed. It would need to learn from its mistakes without making catastrophic ones. And I was making it happen. My team of 7 engineers and data scientists worked relentlessly. We stayed late, ordered in dinners, debated algorithm choices until midnight. When we hit roadblocks, I'd sometimes pace the conference room, gesturing wildly as I worked through solutions out loud. I cried once when we achieved a breakthrough after weeks of failures, actual tears of joy that embarrassed me even as they were happening. But I couldn't help it. The work mattered that much. This is why we need you, Erin. My then boss, CTO Marcus Chen, told me. You care about this on a molecular level. That's what drives innovation. Then came the quarterly leadership assessment. I still remember sitting in that sterile conference room, surrounded by the executive committee: Marcus, CEO Diana Reeves, COO Thomas Whitfield, and Lana Prescott, who had recently been promoted to Chief Strategy Officer despite having no technical background. Her previous role had been in pharmaceutical marketing. Erin, Diana began, her voice carefully modulated to project concern. We've been reviewing the Synthecore project timeline and team dynamics. I nodded, expecting praise. We were 2 weeks ahead of schedule. Our preliminary tests were exceeding expectations. There are some concerns about your leadership approach. I felt my stomach drop. What concerns? The team is performing exceptionally. It's not about the technical milestones. Thomas cut in. It's about management style. We've received feedback that your emotional investment in the project can create an unstable environment. Unstable? I echoed, genuinely confused. We have the highest team cohesion scores in the division. Diana slid a folder across the table. Inside was a performance evaluation with comments I'd never seen before. too passionate about technical details, creating anxiety. Emotional responses to setbacks unnerve team members. Lacks the steady temperament required for senior leadership. The most damning Miss Blake's technical brilliance is undermined by her inability to maintain professional distance. Not recommended for continued project leadership. I looked up, stunned. Who wrote this? These aren't the feedback surveys my team submitted. These are executive assessments, Lana explained smoothly. We need to ensure project leadership aligns with Nexora's corporate culture, especially as we approach investor demonstrations. And what does that mean? I asked, already knowing. We think it's best if Lana takes over as project lead, Diana said. You'll stay on as technical architect. Of course, your expertise is invaluable, but Lana has the temperament we need for this stage. The temperament, I repeated flatly. You mean I'm too emotional to lead because I actually care about what we're building? Marcus, who had been silent until now, winced. Aaron, no one is questioning your technical abilities. Just my emotional stability. I finished for him. Despite delivering ahead of schedule with a team that has zero turnover. This isn't a demotion, Lana assured me with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Think of it as freeing you to focus on what you do best, the technical work, while I handle the corporate politics and presentations. I wanted to argue further, to defend myself, to point out the absurdity of putting someone with no AI expertise in charge of an AI project. But I could see from their faces that the decision had been made long before I entered the room. Fighting would only prove their point about my emotional nature. So I nodded stiffly, gathered my papers, and said the only thing I understand. I didn't understand, not really, but I would soon enough. The transition was subtle at first. Lana began by simply asking me to explain technical concepts to her so she could properly represent the project to stakeholders. I complied, creating detailed briefs and simplified explanations of Synthocore's architecture. Within weeks, those explanations began appearing in company presentations with my name nowhere to be found. Lana would use phrases like our approach and we designed when referring to innovations that were exclusively mine. When I raised this with Marcus, he sighed. It's just corporate communication. Aaron, everyone knows you're the technical brain behind it. But they didn't. New hires were introduced to Lana as the visionary behind Synthocore. Journalists who came for preview articles quoted her extensively on technical concepts she barely understood. My role was increasingly described as support staff rather than architect or even lead engineer. Then came the meeting exclusions. Critical planning sessions that I should have attended were scheduled when I had other commitments. When I managed to rearrange my calendar to attend anyway, I'd find the meeting had been rescheduled without updating the shared calendar. My direct reports were gradually reassigned to other projects, leaving me with just 2 junior engineers. My access to certain development servers was downgraded, requiring approval for changes I had previously made independently. The final blow came during my annual performance review. After years of outstanding evaluations, I was rated as meets expectations, with notes about my resistance to leadership changes and difficulty adapting to team structures. When I asked for specific examples, my new manager hired by Lana simply said, "Your technical work is fine, Aaron. It's your attitude that's holding you back." My attitude. Code for being a woman who wouldn't silently accept having her work stolen. That night, I went home and cried not the joyful tears of scientific breakthrough, but bitter tears of frustration and betrayal. I had given everything to Nexora, had built something revolutionary, only to be pushed aside because I cared too deeply. When the tears dried, something hardened inside me, a clarity I hadn't felt before. I called Laura Pierce, an intellectual property attorney I'd met at a tech conference years earlier. We met for coffee the next morning. "Can they really do this?" I asked after explaining the situation. "Just take my work and cut me out." Laura stirred her latte thoughtfully. "Did you sign an invention assignment agreement when you joined Nexora?" Yes, standard stuff. Everything I create belongs to the company. Then legally, Synthacor belongs to Nexora, not you personally. Seeing my face fall, she added, but that doesn't mean you're without options. What options? They own everything I've built. They own Synthacor as it currently exists, Lara corrected. But what about Synthacor 2.0, or something even better? I frowned. I don't understand. The knowledge in your head, your expertise, your insights that's still yours. If you developed something new, something that went beyond what Synthacor does now, they'd still own it if I developed it while employed there. True, Lara conceded, but what if you weren't employed there much longer? The thought of leaving Nexora had never seriously occurred to me. I had been so focused on the project, so invested in seeing Synthacor succeed, that I couldn't imagine walking away. But now, with my role diminished and my contributions erased, what was keeping me there? I'd need a plan, I said slowly. And I'd need to be careful about what I developed while still on their payroll. Lara nodded. Very careful, but it could be done. And from what you've told me about how they've sidelined you, they've actually created a situation that might work in your favor. How so? They've restricted your access and involvement with Synthacor. They've created documentation showing your limited role. In trying to take credit, they've also created a paper trail suggesting you weren't essential to its continued development. I began to see where she was going. So if I created something new, something that solves problems Synthacor doesn't address, using approaches you never implemented there, they'd have a hard time claiming it was just an extension of work you did for them. She sipped her coffee. Not impossible, mind you, but difficult. For the first time in months, I felt a spark of something other than resentment, something like possibility. I'd need to be strategic, I mused. Document everything, be clear about what I'm doing on company time versus my own. And you'd need to identify a different application or approach. Lara added, the further you can get from what Synthacor specifically does, the better. I thought about it. Synthacor was designed for bioreactor optimization, controlling the conditions for growing therapeutic proteins. But the underlying AI architecture could be applied to so many other areas of pharmaceutical development and distribution. I think I know where to start, I said. The next day at work, I did something I hadn't done in years. I left exactly at 5 p.m. And the day after that, and the day after that. I stopped volunteering solutions in meetings. I completed my assigned tasks competently, but without the extra flourishes or optimizations I would have previously added. When Lana or others asked for my input on Synthacor issues, I provided basic responses without elaboration. Are you feeling all right, Aaron? Marcus asked after a week of this behavior. You seem different. I'm adapting to my role, I replied with the bland smile I'd been practicing. Focusing on my assigned tasks, maintaining appropriate professional distance. Isn't that what was recommended? He had the grace to look uncomfortable. We still value your expertise. Of course, within appropriate boundaries. Meanwhile, my evenings and weekends transformed. I converted my spare bedroom into a home office, set up a powerful development environment, and began building what would become NovaPath, where Synthacor focused narrowly on bioreactor optimization. NovaPath would be a comprehensive AI system for the entire pharmaceutical lifecycle, from drug discovery through manufacturing to supply chain and patient delivery. It would integrate with medical record systems to predict medication demands, optimize production scheduling, and ensure just-in-time delivery to hospitals and pharmacies. Most importantly, it would use a fundamentally different approach to learning and adaptation. Synthacor relied heavily on supervised learning with carefully curated training data. NovaPath would incorporate reinforcement learning and federated learning approaches that allowed it to improve without compromising privacy or security. Each night, I meticulously documented my work, time-stamping every development session and maintaining rigorous separation between my Nexora work and personal projects. I recorded video logs explaining my design choices and inspirations, creating a record that clearly showed NovaPath was not derived from Synthecor's code or architecture. For 4 months, I lived this double life. Corporate Aaron who performed adequately but unremarkably, and night owl Aaron who was building something revolutionary. The strain was considerable. I lost weight, developed insomnia, and barely saw friends. But watching NovaPath take shape, watching it solve problems I'd always wanted to address but never had the freedom to at Nexora made it worthwhile. Then came the opportunity I'd been waiting for. Nexora announced a major demonstration of SyntheCore for shareholders, industry analysts, and press. Lana would be showcasing the system's capabilities through a crisis simulation, demonstrating how SyntheCore could adapt to sudden supply chain disruptions or contamination events in biopharmaceutical production. I knew this simulation well. I had designed its original parameters before being sidelined, and I knew exactly where its vulnerabilities lay. Vulnerabilities I'd planned to address but never got the chance to fix. I wasn't directly involved in the demonstration preparations. My role had been reduced to technical consultant, available if specific questions arose, but I still had enough access to see that they hadn't fixed those vulnerabilities. In fact, they'd made changes that would likely exacerbate them. 2 weeks before the demonstration, I submitted my resignation. The reaction was illuminating. Not concern about losing me, but concern about the timing. "Can't this wait until after the SyntheCore showcase?" Diana asked during my exit interview. "Having a key engineer leave right before such an important demonstration looks problematic." "I'm hardly key anymore," I replied mildly. "According to my current role description, I'm just technical support staff. Surely my departure won't impact a system that, according to all company communications, was developed and is led by Lana." Diana's expression tightened. "We all know your contributions were significant. Aaron, do we? That hasn't been reflected in any official capacity for months. Is this about recognition? We can discuss updating the technical documentation to better acknowledge your role." Too little, too late. This is about a new opportunity that better aligns with my career goals. My decision is final. I worked my 2 weeks' notice, handed over what little I was still responsible for, and left Nexora with nothing but my personal belongings and the knowledge in my head. The day after my employment ended, I filed preliminary patents for key aspects of NovaPath's architecture, listing myself as sole inventor. The day after that, I incorporated Pathfinder AI as a Delaware C corporation with myself as CEO and sole shareholder. 1 week later, I received an invitation to the SyntheCore demonstration sent to my personal email by Marcus, not through official channels. "You should be there," his note read. "Whatever happened, this is still your baby in many ways." I considered ignoring it. I had moved on. I was building something new, something better. Why subject myself to watching Lana take credit for my work? But curiosity won out. I wanted to see if they'd fixed those vulnerabilities. And if they hadn't, well, I wanted to witness that too. Which brings me back to today, sitting in the back row of Nexora's presentation hall, watching Lana confidently lead the audience through SyntheCore's capabilities. "What makes SyntheCore revolutionary?" she's saying now, "is its ability to predict and adapt to manufacturing disruptions before they become critical. Traditional systems react to problems after they occur. SyntheCore anticipates them. This is true, as far as it goes, but it's also where the system's weakness lies. SyntheCore's predictive capabilities depend on properly weighted input variables. Overweight certain variables like cost efficiency, and the system makes dangerous trade-offs in quality control. I know this because I designed it that way initially, planning to implement safeguards before release. Safeguards that, from what I can see in the demonstration dashboard displayed on the massive screen behind Lana, were never completed. To demonstrate this capability, Lana continues, "We're going to simulate a critical supply chain disruption scenario. Imagine a major contamination event at a key raw materials supplier. How would SyntheCore adapt production to maintain output while ensuring product safety?" She gestures to a technician who initiates the simulation. On screen, warning indicators begin to flash as the virtual contamination spreads through the supply chain. SyntheCore begins adjusting virtual production parameters, rerouting resources, modifying bioreactor conditions. For a moment, it seems to be working. The crisis indicators stabilize. Lana smiles triumphantly. As you can see, Synthacor has successfully. A harsh alarm cuts her off. On screen, a cascade of red warnings erupts. The simulation is spiraling out of control exactly as I predicted it would. In attempting to maintain production efficiency, Synthacor has made a critical error. It's prioritizing throughput over quality verification, creating a scenario where contaminated materials would enter the production stream. In a real-world situation, this would mean potentially dangerous medications reaching patients. Lana's confident smile falters. This is just a momentary adjustment. The system is processing complex variables. But it's not adjusting, it's failing. And everyone in the room with any technical knowledge can see it. The murmurs begin. Shareholders exchange concerned glances. A financial analyst in the front row is already typing furiously on his phone, probably adjusting his recommendation on Nexora stock. Lana looks desperately toward the technical team offstage. One of them shrugs helplessly. Another is frantically typing, trying to override the simulation, but it's too late. The demonstration is designed to run its course once initiated. And then her eyes find me, sitting quietly in the back row. Recognition dawns, followed by something like desperation. She gives a small, pleading nod. She wants me to fix this, to come forward and save the demonstration, save Synthacor, save her reputation. I meet her gaze steadily and do nothing. This is the moment I should feel triumph, vindication, but instead, I just feel a hollow confirmation of what I already knew. They never understood the system they claimed to have mastered. The simulation concludes with a damning final screen. Simulation result critical failure. Estimated impact, 78% of production compromised. Regulatory compliance failed. Silence falls over the auditorium. Diana hurries on stage, attempting damage control. What we've shown you today is the importance of continuous development in AI systems. This particular scenario represents an extreme edge case that our team is actively addressing in the next iteration. But the damage is done. Investors are already heading for the exits. Phones pressed to their ears. Journalists are capturing screenshots of the failure display. A representative from the FDA, who was invited to observe the promising new technology, is frowning deeply. I stand quietly and make my way toward the exit. As I reach the door, I hear my name called. Aaron, wait. It's Marcus, hurrying after me, face flushed with stress. You knew this would happen, he says when he catches up. It's not a question. I shrug. I identified that vulnerability 6 months ago. It was in my technical notes, the ones that were removed from the project documentation after I was sidelined. Can you fix it right now? We've got investors ready to pull out, the FDA looking at us like we're incompetent. I don't work for Nexora anymore. Marcus, we'll hire you as a consultant. Name your price. Just help us fix this before the stock plummets any further. I look back toward the auditorium, where Lana is still trying to salvage the presentation, her composed facade crumbling with every stumbling explanation. You know what the real problem was with Synthacor today? I ask quietly. It wasn't just a technical glitch. It was a failure of understanding. Lana and the leadership team never truly grasped what the system was designed to do, what its limitations were. They saw it as a magic box that would solve all problems without understanding how it actually worked. Aaron, please. That's what happens when you prioritize appearance over substance, when you value seeming calm over genuine passion for the work. I start walking again. Good luck with the fallout, Marcus. I genuinely mean that. I leave him standing there, return to my car, and drive not home, but to another meeting, one I had scheduled for later that afternoon. Anticipating I would be free from the Nexora demonstration early. Ellis Morrow, CEO of Correvia Biologics. Nexora's largest competitor is waiting for me in a private room at a downtown restaurant. He rises when I enter, extending his hand. Ms. Blake, thank you for agreeing to meet. Mr. Morrow, thank you for your interest in Pathfinder AI. We sit, He studies me with sharp eyes that have evaluated countless business proposals and technological innovations during his 30-year career. I'll be direct, he says. Your proposal regarding NovaPath is intriguing, but also ambitious. You're suggesting an AI system that integrates aspects of pharmaceutical development that have traditionally been siloed. I'm skeptical such comprehensive integration is currently possible. Understandable, I reply, opening my laptop. Perhaps a demonstration would be more convincing than my written proposal. For the next hour, I show him NovaPath's capabilities. Not with PowerPoint slides or theoretical models, but with actual functioning code. I run simulations demonstrating how NovaPath can track a medication from initial formulation through manufacturing to patient delivery, optimizing each step of the process while maintaining rigorous quality control. I deliberately include the same crisis scenario that Synthacor failed on just hours earlier. NovaPath handles it flawlessly, maintaining both production efficiency and quality safeguards. Ellis watches without comment, occasionally asking incisive questions that reveal his deep understanding of both the pharmaceutical industry and the potential of AI. Unlike Lana and the Nexora executives, he doesn't need simplified explanations or glossy visualizations. He wants to understand how it actually works. When I finish, he sits back, expression thoughtful. This is impressive work, especially for a solo developer operating without corporate resources. Thank you. It's also potentially disruptive to the entire industry, including my company. I nod. That's why I'm here. Disruption can be threatening, or it can be an opportunity depending on which side of it you're standing on. He smiles slightly. And you're offering Corivia the chance to be on the right side of this disruption. I'm offering a strategic partnership. Pathfinder AI provides the technology. Corivia provides the industry expertise, regulatory relationships, and manufacturing infrastructure to implement it at scale. An exclusive partnership? For the first 3 years, yes. After that, negotiable based on market performance. Ellis is quiet for a long moment, fingers steepled in thought. Then he asks a question I wasn't expecting. Why did you leave Nexora? I consider a diplomatic answer, then decide on honesty. I was told my leadership style was too emotional, that my passion for the work made me unsuitable for senior roles. They wanted someone who would present well to shareholders, not someone who understood the technology. And how did that work out for them? Their demonstration failed catastrophically about 2 hours ago. Their stock will likely drop significantly when the market opens tomorrow. He doesn't seem surprised. I have contacts who were in that room. The reports I've received are not flattering to Nexora's technical capabilities. I say nothing, letting the implications settle. Ms. Blake? Ellis continues. Corivia has a different philosophy than Nexora. We believe technical excellence should drive business strategy, not the other way around. We want people who care deeply about their work because that's what produces genuine innovation. He extends his hand again. I think we have the basis for a partnership here. Have your lawyers draw up the proposed agreement, and we'll move forward with due diligence. I shake his hand, feeling a surreal sense of completion. 6 months ago, I was fighting to maintain my role on a project I had created. Now I'm negotiating as a CEO with one of the industry's most respected leaders. The following week is a blur of activity. News of the Synthacor failure spreads through industry channels, and Nexora's stock indeed drops by 22%, a steeper decline than I had anticipated. Financial analysts issue concerned reports about the company's technological capabilities and leadership. Meanwhile, I work with Lara to finalize the partnership agreement with Corivia. The terms are better than I had hoped: $15 million their initial funding, access to Corivia's research facilities and data, and a generous royalty structure once NovaPath is fully implemented. 10 days after the failed demonstration, I receive a call from Diana Reeves. I almost don't answer, but curiosity wins out. Erin, she begins without preamble. We need to talk about what happened. Which part? I ask. The part where you sidelined me from my own project, or the part where that project failed publicly because the vulnerabilities I identified were ignored. She sighs. Both, I suppose. Look, mistakes were made. We recognize that now. The board is reevaluating our approach to technical leadership. Meaning Lana has been reassigned, and we want you back as Chief Technology Officer. Full leadership of Synthacor and a seat on the executive committee, plus equity compensation to make up for past oversights. I almost laugh. You're offering me a promotion now. We're offering you the recognition you deserved all along. The crisis has made it clear how valuable you are to Nexora. The crisis made it clear I was right. That's not the same thing as being valued. Diana? What do you want? Then name it. The board has authorized me to make this right. What do I want 6 months ago? This call would have been everything I hoped for: validation, recognition, the leadership role I deserved. But now, I don't work for validation anymore, I tell her. I work to create actual value, and I'm doing that at Pathfinder AI. Pathfinder, you started your own company. She sounds genuinely shocked. Yes, and we've just finalized a strategic partnership with Corivia Biologics. The silence on the other end is profound. I see, she finally says, voice tight. I hope you haven't taken any proprietary Nexora technology with you, Aaron. That would be a serious legal matter. Everything I'm developing at Pathfinder was created after my employment with Nexora ended, using entirely different approaches than Synthacor. My lawyers have thoroughly documented the distinctions. I pause. But feel free to pursue legal action if you believe otherwise. The discovery process would be illuminating for everyone involved. Another lengthy silence. That won't be necessary, Diana says eventually. I wish you luck with your new venture. Thank you. I wish Nexora the best as well. It's a polite fiction on both sides, but it marks the end of a chapter. I hang up feeling lighter than I have in months. The next 6 months pass in a productive whirlwind. With Corivia's resources behind us, Pathfinder AI grows from just me to a team of 17, all hand-selected for both their technical brilliance and their genuine passion for the work. I make sure every team member knows their contributions are valued, credited, and rewarded. NovaPath undergoes rigorous testing and refinement, then begins pilot implementation at 2 of Corivia's manufacturing facilities. The results exceed even my optimistic projections: 28% increase in production efficiency, 14% reduction in quality control issues, and a 35% improvement in supply chain accuracy. By the 9th month after leaving Nexora, NovaPath is operating in 12 facilities across Corivia's network and is beginning implementation at 2 partner hospitals to create end-to-end medication tracking. The pharmaceutical industry takes notice. Trade publications run features on the AI revolution in pharma logistics. Investment capital begins flowing towards similar technologies, none of which have NovaPath's comprehensive approach or performance. Nexora, meanwhile, struggles to recover from the Synthacor debacle. They eventually release a scaled-back version that functions adequately for basic bioreactor control, but lacks the advanced capabilities originally promised. Their stock stabilizes but remains well below its previous levels. Lana Prescott leaves Nexora entirely. According to industry gossip, she joins a small biotech startup as Chief Marketing Officer, a role better aligned with her actual expertise. I receive an invitation to deliver the keynote address at the International Conference on AI and Biomedicine, a prestigious recognition of Pathfinder's impact on the field. Standing on that stage, looking out at an audience of the industry's brightest minds, I feel a moment of perfect clarity. The journey that brought me here was painful. Being dismissed, sidelined, and undervalued hurt in ways that still occasionally sting. But that pain pushed me to create something better than I would have built within Nexora's constraints. It forced me to believe in my own vision enough to risk everything on it. The future of pharmaceutical AI, I tell the audience, isn't about replacing human judgment with algorithms. It's about enhancing human capabilities with systems that learn alongside us, that adapt to our needs while maintaining unwavering commitment to patient safety. It's about caring deeply, yes, emotionally, about the impact of our work. The applause is gratifying, but the real validation comes in the weeks that follow. as hospitals using NovaPath report significant improvements in medication delivery accuracy and patient outcomes. Real people are benefiting from what we've built. A year and a day after the Synthacor demonstration failure, I receive an email from Lana Prescott. The subject line reads simply, "Congratulations and a proposal." The email itself is brief but carefully worded. Aaron, I've been following Pathfinder AI's success with interest. What you've accomplished is truly impressive. I'm reaching out because I believe my experience in pharmaceutical marketing and corporate strategy could complement your technical vision. Perhaps we could discuss potential collaboration. I have several ideas for expanding NovaPath's market presence that I'd be eager to share. I read it twice, noting the careful lack of apology or acknowledgement of our history, then I delete it without responding. Some might call it petty, but I don't see it that way. The best revenge isn't destroying your enemies, it's succeeding so completely that you no longer need to think about them at all. Today, Pathfinder AI is valued at $340 million in its latest funding round. We're expanding NovaPath's capabilities into clinical trial optimization and personalized medicine applications. I lead a team of brilliant, passionate people who are never told their enthusiasm is a liability. And yes, I still occasionally cry when we achieve a breakthrough. I still pace when working through difficult problems. I still care with every fiber of my being about the systems we're building and the people they help. That's not being too emotional for leadership. That's being a leader worth following.